The artificial sunrise cast a dim orange glow over Sector 9, an aging market strip on the lower levels of New Earth Orbit Station. It was a place where progress slowed down, where high-tech and low-life coexisted in a delicate dance. You could still find barter deals here, antique tech, even real books, if you knew where to look. Halo ads flickered overhead, competing for attention with old-school posters and street musicians strumming on analog guitars. Drones zipped past, delivering synth snacks to upper-tier citizens, but down here, things moved slower. Among the tangle of neon lights, scaffolding and steam vents stood a stall so plain it seemed like it had no business being there. A crooked sign, hand-painted and weathered, read, "A Tariq's omelettes, real taste, real heat." Inside, Tariq cracked eggs with fluid precision, each movement rehearsed through years of repetition. He was in his mid-30s, lean and wiry, with a face carved by time, not surgery. He wore a patched-up apron over a threadbare jacket and a pair of goggles pushed up onto his forehead, which he only used when the radiation grid flickered. His stove was a curious hybrid, an old Earth cast-iron flat top mounted on a scavenged quantum coil from a disassembled military field reactor. The energy output was wildly unstable. Most wouldn't risk using it. But for Tariq, it was the secret to making the perfect omelette. He wasn't a chef by trade. He had once been a physics prodigy. He had dreams of working on planetary terraforming projects, of building wormholes, or exploring time dilation fields. But life in the colonies was harsh. When the Earth Tech scholarship was withdrawn after his mother died and his documents were revoked, his dreams scattered like dust in a solar storm. Still, he had knowledge. And more importantly, curiosity. He couldn't afford a lab, but he had eggs. And eggs, it turned out, were more powerful than anyone imagined. 6 months ago, everything changed. It had been a typical Tuesday, if you could call any day on a space station a typical. Tariq was adjusting the coil settings on his stove when the overload happened. A surge of unstable ions from the reactor core jumped into the grid. Most stalls lost power. Some electronics fried completely. Tariq's stove, however, flared with blue-green light, and then the egg cooked. It cooked in precisely 0.7 seconds. Not fried, not scorched. Cooked fluffy, perfectly set, yolk intact. Impossible. Tariq stared at it, mouth agape. The scent wafted upward. He had never smelled anything like it. Richer, fuller, complex in a way that didn't make sense. Curious and hungry. He took a bite, and the world shifted. He blinked, once, twice. And suddenly, he was elsewhere. Or maybe when else. He saw a customer walking toward his stall. A woman in a red coat. She hadn't arrived yet. But in this vision, she ordered 2 omelettes and dropped a coin. Seconds later, it happened. Exactly as he saw it. He almost dropped the skillet. From that moment, Tariq realized something fundamental. The overload had changed the stove, or perhaps the egg, or both. The resulting reaction had briefly altered his perception of time. Over the next few weeks, he ran experiments in secret, always 1 egg at a time. Different temperatures, combinations of spices, radiation levels, timing. It wasn't easy. Sometimes nothing happened. Other times he'd see minor flashes. A snippet of a conversation, a footstep before it echoed, a glimpse of someone about to speak. But with the right combination of ingredients, heat and radiation, he could see forward. Just a few seconds. Sometimes a few minutes. But once, just once, he had cooked an egg that gave him a 2-hour glimpse into the future. He watched his entire evening unfold before it happened. That was the night he knew. His omelette wasn't just food. It was a time machine. A digestible time machine. He laughed to himself often about it. All the universe's grand designs. All the experiments by the great minds of Earth. And the answer was right there all along. In an egg. Tariq didn't tell anyone. Not at first. He didn't want to be locked up or dissected by the TRA, Time Regulation Authority. They were infamous for taking people away for a temporal instability. No one ever came back, so he played it smart. He kept serving omelettes, kept the lines moving, kept his head down. But when he chose to see the future, when he needed to, it helped. A delayed food shipment. He cooked an egg and knew which freighter to ask. A violent gang altercation nearby. He cooked an egg and closed early. A man about to steal from his till. Cook, watch, block. Easy. It worked so well that his reputation began to grow. They called him the Omelette Prophet in whispers. Some thought he was just lucky. Others believed he had a hacker friend feeding him info. No one guessed the truth. And still, Tariq stayed quiet. Until Juno arrived. Juno was different. She didn't come for food. She came for answers. She stood at his stall one evening as the market lights dimmed for night cycle. Her coat was lined with smart fabric, adjusting temperature as she moved. Her eyes scanned everything, not just looking, recording, calculating. "I heard you make good omelettes," she said. "I do," Tariq replied. "Some say you make impossible omelettes," Tariq shrugged. "Only if you can't cook." She smiled faintly. "Mind making me one? No onions, extra pepper." He nodded, flipping the switch on the stove and adjusting the coil. As he worked, he added crystal pepper, an ingredient with a mild psychotropic property when heated past 140 degrees. Combined with Himalayan salt, a trace of Martian truffle oil, and cooked at the exact tempo. As he cracked the egg, he hesitated. Something felt off, but he continued. The sizzle hit Kid. The scent curled into the air. He watched her closely as she took the first bite. She blinked, then looked straight at him. "You're not the only one who can see the future," she said calmly. "But you are the only one doing it with eggs." Tariq froze. "You work for the Tra," she added. But unofficially, off record, Tariq felt the blood drain from his face. Relax," she said. "I'm not here to arrest you. I'm here because you've done something extraordinary, something elegant." She leaned closer. "You created a temporal conduit through protein binding. Do you have any idea what that means?" "You have guesses," Tariq muttered. "I want to help you," she said. "But you have to be careful. Others will come, those who won't be as kind." He stared at her. "Why would you help me?" She smiled. "Because for once, the future doesn't look like war or extinction. It looks like breakfast." That night, Tariq couldn't sleep. He looked at his stall, cleaned and packed for the night. The stove was cold, the eggs stored in the mini fridge. He thought about what she said. He thought about the future, and he thought about choice. He never set out to change the world. He only wanted to make ends meet, to survive. But maybe, just maybe, this was his shot. Not to be rich, not even famous, but to matter, to make something meaningful. With eggs of all things, he chuckled as he turned off the lights. "But who would have thought," he muttered to himself. Above, the stars shimmered through the space dome. Somewhere, in a future not yet written, Tariq's name was on someone's lips. Not as a chef, but as a revolutionary. And the revolution would be served sunny side up. Morning on Sector 9 came not with sunlight, but with the hum of air recyclers kicking into daytime mode, and the subtle brightening of overhead lead. It was artificial, yes. But for those who lived here, it was home. And for Tariq, it was his universe. Tariq stepped into his stall, ducking slightly under the dangling wires and canopy tarp. He switched on the stove. The coil inside buzzed, blinking from red to deep violet. He watched the light shift, then adjusted the radiation modulator. Every motion was a ritual. Every egg a potential miracle or a mistake. He didn't feel like flipping omelettes for tourists today. He needed to test a theory. Last night's conversation with Juno had burned itself into his mind. She wasn't just another curious customer. She knew she was part of something bigger. And she said others were coming. That meant one thing. The Time Regulation Authority was watching him. So Tariq did what he always did when he needed answers. He cooked an egg. He selected a triple yolk Martian hybrid, illegally imported, prized for its rich nutrient profile and unusual protein lattice. He cracked it gently onto the plate, then sprinkled his custom mix. Himalayan salt, a dash of solar-dried thyme, 1 drop of quantum truffle oil, and a pinch of crystal pepper. Not too much. Last time he'd nearly passed out from an overload of future noise. As the omelette cooked, he counted his heartbeats. 8, 9, 10. Then he took a bite. The world rippled. Not just around him, but through him. He saw flickers of time, a boy dropping coins, a woman screaming, a shadow behind his stall, flames, panic, then quiet again. Like flipping through pages of a book written in real time. And there it was, a vision lasting almost 4 minutes. In it, a man in a black suit approached his stall. He wasn't a customer. He wasn't even curious. He was here to take everything. The stove, the notes, Tariq himself. Worse, he wasn't from the tray. He worked for someone else, ChronoCorp. The name rang like a warning bell in his mind. ChronoCorp was a private time tech conglomerate, rumoured to operate parallel to TRA authority. While the TRA regulated and controlled temporal activity, ChronoCorp monetised it. Black market predictions, weaponised timelines, memory rewrites for the elite. They didn't care about ethics, only control. Tariq jerked out of the vision, heart pounding. He needed help. By midday, Juno returned as if summoned by fate. Or an omelette. "A busy morning?" she asked, eyes already scanning his face. "I saw them," Tariq whispered. "A ChronoCorp. They're coming." Juno tensed, then reached into her coat and slipped a device onto the stall's countertop. It shimmered, then hissed. Oh, a temporary field expanded around them, muffling all outside sound. "You used the triple yoke?" she asked. He nodded. She sighed. "That egg's illegal for a reason. High psi resonance. Future visions with those are unstable." "I don't care," he replied. "They're after me." Juno didn't argue. "Then you need to leave this place." Now, Tariq looked around. "This is all I have." "Then you'll lose everything," he hesitated. Then quietly, "Can you protect me?" Juno's gaze hardened. No, but I can train you." The alley behind the market smelled of burning fuel and old plastic. Juno led Tariq through a side corridor into a freight tunnel, sealed off to civilians. She had access, of course. Her credentials were ghost level, off the record, untraceable. They arrived in a small room deep beneath the station. The walls buzzed faintly. A Faraday cage, time-dampening fields. "Experimental tech, judging by the faint scent of ozone." "You've built a lab down here?" Tariq asked. "Not me," she said. "ACEL, a collective of researchers, former TRA scientists, rebels if you want to call them that. And they're going to teach me what?" Juno smiled faintly. "Where to cook without breaking the future." They called it the Temporal Culinary Science Initiative. There were 6 of them in total. Each had been part of a failed project, an abandoned timeline or a classified mission that went wrong. But they all had one thing in common. They believed in alternative timeline intervention through ingestible temporal mediums, aka time food. One woman named Dr. Naya specialized in flavor-based frequency alignment, matching emotional states to future clarity. A gruff ex-chef named Klaus worked with thermal pressure waves, using them to fine-tune vision length, and the twins Mina and Io were experts in ingestion delay mechanics, timing the eating of certain foods with real-time future forks. Tariq felt like a fraud next to them. He was just a street cook. But his experiments, his results, they were beyond anything the group had ever achieved. Juno laid it out clearly. "You're a pioneer, Tariq. You discovered something none of us did. You found the resonance point, the precise balance where time bends but doesn't break." Tariq sat at the workbench, hands still covered in egg batter. "I didn't mean to. I just needed a better life." "And now you've discovered a better future," Naya said. Over the next week, they trained him. He learned how different spices enhanced temporal clarity, like saffron laced with quantum dust, or basil from Earth that still carried magnetic memory from the Schumann resonance field. He tested yolk separation techniques, flavor layering for guided visions, and safe wake-up protocols in case of temporal overload. He failed a lot. One vision left him shaking for 2 hours, unable to speak. Another caused a temporal loop, trapping him in the same 20 seconds for what felt like a week. But slowly he improved. And then one day, he succeeded in crafting the perfect omelette. A 12-minute stabilized forward vision dish, tuned to his own timeline and locked onto a decision fork. Stay and fight, or run and hide. And what he saw changed everything. In the vision, Sector 9 was on fire. People screamed, security bots were crushed. And in the middle stood a man in black, ChronoCorp's enforcer. Around him, his agents confiscated devices, food, anything that smelled of time. And then they reached his stall. The stove was gone, his notes destroyed, and Tariq nowhere to be found. Not arrested, not dead, just gone. The vision ended, and he gasped, sweat pouring down his face. He looked at Juno. "I have to stay," he said. That night, Tariq returned to his stall. The market was quieter than usual. Rumours of ChronoCorp raids had already begun circulating. Several vendors had shut down. Drones hovered higher, scanning faces. He rolled up his sleeves and got to work. But this time he wasn't just making food. He was planting defense mechanisms, Omelettes tuned to trigger brief time loops, delay perception, even disorient incoming agents. Juno had helped him prepare. Naya created an infusion that would render ChronoCorp agents temporarily blind to future shifts, and in the back he kept a special egg, a final resort, cooked, sealed and hidden, an escape, a reset, a way out if everything failed. The next day, the man in black arrived, exactly as the vision predicted. He walked slowly through the market, his steps echoing. No weapons, no threat, just cold certainty. He stopped at Tariq's stall. "Mr. Tariq," he said. Tariq flipped an omelette. "You want one? They're good today." The man smiled. "I'm here for your stove." "And your memory?" Tariq looked up. "I don't sell either of those."
Not a request,"
the man said. He tapped a small cube on the counter. It flickered, a localized memory wipe device. Tariq was ready. He activated the defense omelette. The moment the egg hit the hot plate, a pulse rippled through the air. The man staggered back, eyes blinking. Then the world twisted. Time loop. 5 seconds, on repeat. Only Tariq could move freely. He used the time to grab the memory wipe cube, disable its core, and disarm the man's scanner. Then, as the loop ended, he reset everything. The man in black blinked. Tariq was already holding a plate. "One omelette. On the house," he said. The man stared at it, then turned and walked away. That night, Tariq sat alone in his stall, the stove humming softly. He stared at the stars through the space dome. He had won, for now. But the real war was just beginning, because now the world knew something dangerous. Time could be changed, one bite at a time. And the man who made it happen was just an omelette seller, but not for much longer. The day after the man in black walked away from his stall, Tariq didn't open the shutters. He sat behind his counter in the dark, hands clasped, listening to the soft hum of the quantum stove coil ticking as it cooled. The market outside still bustled. Sector 9 never stopped entirely, but it had changed. More drones, fewer locals, whispers moving like shadows. He had won a small battle, yes, but it had confirmed what he'd feared. ChronoCorp knew what he had, and now they'd be back with more than one agent. With permission, with power. He wasn't ready, yet. Down below the market, the secret lab hummed with energy. Tariq arrived just past midday, ducking through the tunnel entrance, using the same 3 rights, 1 left path Juno had taught him. She was waiting for him with a datapad in hand, her dark eyes intense. Behind her, the rest of the initiative were huddled around a makeshift conference table, really just a bolted-down shipping crate with a magnetic display rigged above it. A projection hovered mid-air, flickering slightly. Tariq glanced at the image. It was a map of the station, but with heat points, pulses of time distortion, marked in sharp red. There were more than he expected. "What am I looking at?" he asked. Juno zoomed in on Sector 9. "These are anomalies, tiny bursts of predictive or precognitive energy. Most are minor. But yours," she tapped the center, a cluster of deep red. "Your stall's like a flare. Every time you make a vision omelette, it sends out a signature ripple. They can detect it. Anyone with the right equipment can." Tariq's stomach sank. "So I'm broadcasting." A louder than a hacked radio station, Klaus grunted from the back. "We tried masking it," Mina added, "with inhibitors, frequency scramblers, dampeners. But your tech is raw. Unfiltered." "It's too real," Io said. Tariq exhaled. "So what do I do? Stop cooking?" The lab fell silent. Juno finally looked up. "Or you start cooking smarter." The next week became a blur of experimentation and innovation. Tariq, no longer just a stall vendor, began evolving into something else. Part chef, part scientist, part revolutionary. The lab, once filled with quiet murmurs, now rang with sizzling coils, egg foam chemistry, spice experiments, and time thread simulations. He worked with Dr. Naya to map how flavor intensity could bend the duration and direction of visions. Savory dishes leaned into the near future. Sweet, oddly enough, hinted at past echoes. When he combined the two, honey with sharp cheese, syrup with acidic herbs, the results grew chaotic, unstable, like viewing multiple realities overlapping. With Klaus, he explored thermal triggers, setting heat waves into microbursts that could pre-activate a vision before the dish was even tasted. This allowed a precognition by scent, a powerful tool, if it didn't make you collapse. But the most intriguing discovery came through accident. Late one evening, exhausted, Tariq forgot to eat an omelette right after making it. He left it on the plate. 20 minutes later, when he finally took a bite, The vision was different. It wasn't just a vision anymore. It was a message from himself. He saw himself in a dimly lit room. Future Tariq. Hair longer, a scar along his temple. Speaking into a glowing plate, his voice was frantic. You don't have time, you think you're in control, but you're not. ChronoCorp isn't your biggest enemy. It's you, a version of you, one that sold out, one that turned this discovery into a product. Stop it. Hide the stove. Burn the notes. Trust no one, not even her. The vision cut off as past Tariq, present Tariq, choked on the last bite. He stumbled backward, breathing hard. The team came running. He told them everything. And Juno went pale. And messages across time are strictly forbidden, she whispered. This isn't a vision anymore. You've created a closed time loop. And what did he mean? One that sold out? Mina asked. Tariq looked at the stove, then at Juno, then said nothing. That night, Tariq wandered the upper levels of the station alone. He found a quiet observatory dome, mostly abandoned now. The stars glinted like pixel dust beyond the reinforced glass. Ships moved like fireflies in orbital dance. Somewhere out there, time was free. Untrapped, fluid, he pulled a small notebook from his coat pocket. Paper, handwritten. He didn't trust digital anymore. He flipped through formulas, flavor ratios, sketches of omelette profiles and their effects. He landed on a page labeled Project Rewind, a theory he hadn't dared try. An omelette that could send you back, not just your thoughts or images. You, physically. It was madness. Too much heat and the body would combust. Too little and the time jump wouldn't anchor. The proteins had to be perfectly stabilized with energy density in the megajoule range. He needed one final ingredient, an omega egg, only one known to exist, stored in ChronoCorp's secure biovault. By morning, the plan was in motion. Tariq and Juno gathered the initiative. I need that egg, he said simply. You'll never make it in, Klaus argued. It's locked tighter than a black hole. Not alone, Juno said. They laid out the operation, a split team. Tariq and Juno would breach the vault via the lower maintenance shafts. Io and Mina would spoof security checkpoints using hacked TRA clearance. Naya would flood the internal monitors with fake loop footage. Klaus would prep the extraction route, the only variable. Time. They had 16 minutes from the moment the vault opened to when ChronoCorp's AI security would realign. It was just enough time to grab the egg, and disappear. The break-in was smooth at first. Tariq marveled at the corridors of ChronoCorp, sleek steel, glowing panels, pulsing doors. The vault itself was a cryolocked cylinder. Floating within was the omega egg, encased in a suspension field. Perfect. He reached in using the thermal glove, delicately removing it. But then, a glitch. The vault door didn't reseal properly. Security lit up. And an alarm echoed through the corridor. Juno grabbed his arm. Twice, Tariq nearly dropped the egg. Once, a stun round grazed his shoulder. But they made it, barely, through the final shaft, diving into a junker shuttle hidden beneath the hangar. As they launched, Tariq looked back at the ChronoCorp dome glowing with blue warning lights. I got it, he whispered. Juno slumped beside him, bleeding from a cut above her brow. And now use it. Back in the lab, everyone gathered around. The omega egg was breathtaking, shimmering with a faint violet aura. Its energy signature pulsed in sync with Tariq's stove. It's not just organic, Naya said softly. It's alive. Alive? Tariq echoed. Not sentient, but responsive, like it knows what it's meant for. Tariq nodded. Then let's give it purpose. He began preparing the final omelette. Ingredients were measured with precision, heat adjusted to molecular stability. The omega yolk was folded with 2 standard eggs, creating a tri-resonant time fabric. Spices tuned for memory lock, emotion bonding, and quantum anchoring. The entire lab held its breath. The dish sizzled, crackled, then glowed, not just the plate, but the air around it. A ripple of light like a small star being born. Tariq plated it carefully. Is this it? Mina asked. He nodded. This isn't just a jump, it's a reset. I'm going back to the moment of the first search 6 months ago. I'm going to change what happened, create a new fork. But what if you don't remember us? Ao asked. Tariq looked at them all. I'll remember the truth. That's all I need. He turned to Juno. Thank you took a bite. Time shattered. Colours bled into sounds, shapes folded. Everything collapsed into light and pulled into a single point, then silence.